Action SA in KwaZulu-Natal Premier candidate Zwakele Mncwango has accused IFP officials in the Zululand District Municipality of using a government event this weekend to campaign for elections. The council was in the news earlier this year for illegally withdrawing from its bank account some 32 million rands. Well, Mncwango joins us now for more on that. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. As far as the election period is concerned, do you know if there are any rules that are in place intended to regulate the pre-election government events, especially that would be hosted by whichever party, I suppose, would be in charge in any municipality?
Good evening to you, Chavo, and the viewers at home. Firstly, I must say, during this time, it's normally a time for budget and IDP hearing, which is normal for municipalities because they must pass budget by May. But ordinarily, outside election, it's normal that when you do these public meetings, municipalities always advise public not to wear political regalia so that you move away from politics. It becomes the public platform to engage on a budget or IDP. But coming to your question, Chabo, there is a code of conduct when it comes to an election. After the proclamation of the date, parties get invited by IEC to sign the code of conduct. So part of the code of conduct, there are specific areas that are prohibited from parties or candidates who are contesting election. For example, one of them is offering any inducement or reward to a person to vote for a party. And another one, which is very relevant to this case of Zululand, is abusing a position of power or privilege or influence to influence the outcome of an election. So basically, here you have a municipality conducting public hearings. Then you find that there are taxis going around different wards in Wanongoma, transporting IFP members. These taxis are paid by government funds, but they've got flags of a political party. When you go to a venue is decorated with IFP logos and there are banners of IFP inside the municipal event. Then everyone there is wearing IFP t-shirts and they are singing IFP slogans. That can't be allowed in terms of the act, because now it goes against the National Act in terms of code of conduct, because now you are now abusing the public funds for the benefit of a particular political party. That's where the problem is. In that meeting as well, there were gifts given away to the public there, like your grass cutting machines, and so many things were given away using public funds for political gains. That's where the issue, then the clash when it comes to code of conduct.
So what actually happened at this IDP roadshow? You're saying that people were transported. Was transport made available to be used by everyone, including members of Action SA or just general members of society, to come to these IDP meetings?
Look, first of all, you will understand the nature of politics in KZN, for example. When there's a taxi going around in an area with a particular flag of the particular party, definitely it's not the flag of a municipality, it's a flag of the particular party. So meaning whoever would want to go to this IDP will be reluctant because of a flag. And also, everyone in this text is wearing a party regalia. Now, it makes anyone anyway be discomfortable even to attend this gathering. Even if you walk to this venue, when you get there, everyone, even inside the marquee, there is IFP flags. That's the problem, because what it does, it then says, if you are from other parties, you definitely become uncomfortable, because even here it's a rally, basically. It becomes a party rally, then government event. That's what happened in Wanongoma. But also, we've seen this provocative stance of the IFP in Zululand. We saw even yesterday where there was an NFP rally. We all know about it, long time announced, but IFP decided to move around helicopter over with the IFP flag where there's a stadium where people are gathering from the NFP. That really shows that IFP is becoming intolerant and doesn't really understand the basic of peace in this province. So we feel that they are in violation of the code of conduct, because you can't have free and fair election when there's a threat towards other people. Like, for example, that weekend, when IFP hosted this gathering, there was an Action SA manifesto launch in Wanongoma, and they decided to have this event 3 kilometers away from our manifesto. No way to understand why, because even the application for Session 4 was done 3 days before their event, meaning they had no plan to have this IDP or budget hearing. It was planned to disrupt Action SA manifesto launch. Same thing happened yesterday when they were flying with a helicopter using their flag over the stadium. This shows intolerance, but unfortunately, we can't allow this kind of tone, because court says, when you sign the code of conduct, it says all of us as parties and candidates, we must speak against any form of political violence or threats. So basically, I think the IEC must engage with the IFP on these matters.
So someone could say this could constitute, cheap politicking on the side of Action SA, especially if you will not provide us with evidence that would say, well, other residents were prevented, in so many words, from getting into those buses that would have been taking people to the IDP. Inside the marquee, there could have been, many other T-shirts. In fact, people saying there were also yellow T-shirts there, and so on and so forth. What evidence are you presenting on this particular matter?
Look, Thabo, it's easier to say that, but in our province, for example, I even said this during our press at ICC. When I engaged with the IEC, I said to them, this is a problematic issue, because what did happen? In our province, we know we're coming from a violence, and we know what it is to have a political intolerance and the fight and the really serious tension in our province. What will happen if there's a hearing again where same thing happens? Then you find that IFP, Action SA, ANC, EFF, all other parties gather in this public hearing with their own regalia. You have difficulties, because there will be serious threats and violence in that environment. So if one can argue and say, no, you're all allowed to come to a public hearing wearing your regalia, but I'm telling you, Thabo, I don't think it would be a right move for any leader to contemplate in testing that, because one can be tempted to say, look, if they do it again, let's rally our members, you are saying, let's see if they're going to block us if we go there. Let's pass our people, let ANC pass their people, let EFF pass their people. But I'm telling you, Thabo, it won't end well when it comes to president, and because we know the tensions in our politics. So as leaders, we act with maturity. That is why we tell our members not to go closer to such a situation, because it's very dangerous and can really provoke tensions unnecessarily. So all we are saying as well is we are asking on IP leaders to act responsible. But that's all they do. They must act responsible, because in normal trouble, whenever they have these events, understanding our dynamics in the province, they always advise public not to wear political regalia for that reason, to avoid unnecessary tensions.
So, more than the fact that you would, I suppose, see this as a use of state funds to exert political party influence on the voters, your biggest concern is around the provocation that this could possibly bring. Did you raise this issue with the mayor? Did you raise this issue with the other leadership within the IFP?
Yes, I did raise with him, and also I did raise with the IFP leadership. Look, we have this open and important relationship with IFP leadership. There's no tension, I must be honest. We do engage with the president of the IFP. We do engage with the chapters of the IFP in the province. We have this open relationship. Even when the IFP removed our posters around Mosmabida during their manifesto, I did engage with the IFP leadership to say, look, there's a problem here. We had posters, and these posters have been removed and they've been replaced with the IFP posters. But again, we're expecting leaders to act, not only to listen, but they must act on these issues, because end of the day, for us as leaders, we can engage, but members on the ground may not find the space to be tolerant to each other and end up creating unnecessary conflict. That is why we are saying we must act responsible and not to provoke attention. Like this issue of this gathering, Chabo. You see, it became the IFP rally because in that gathering, they were talking about the IFP, why we must go and vote for IFP, not talking about the budget and the IDP only, but it was more about why we must go and vote for IFP, and they were singing IFP slogans. Now, that's where the problem is, because what happens if someone says, but I'm not here for this, then there's going to be conflict. So we are saying as leaders, let's act responsible, let's act in line with the code of conduct so that we don't create instability in our province. We don't want a situation in Chabo where there is violence before an election. We want to have a free and fair election outside intimidation, where also we don't use our position of influence to influence the outcome of the election.
So, I mean, we are at that part of the campaigning where we are going to see a lot of these public relations exercises where political parties that are in government, including some that are in your multi-party coalition for multi-party charter for South Africa, I beg your pardon, would want to use, I suppose, their history of delivery and so on and so forth to really ramp up their electoral fate. Do you think this is justified? Is there justification for this?
Look, it's okay to talk about facts. If you campaign and talk about what we have done in your rally or in a space of a debate, it's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But what is problematic is when you start to use the public purse on your campaign. Because remember, for example, Chabo, that event, it should mean IFP should have paid for the transport, should have paid for the market, for the sound, for the artists. That event would have costed maybe more than R1 million. But that money came from the municipality instead of the IFP. That's where the issue is. The money must be paid by parties, and then in that platform, they can talk about their delivery is fine. Because when you campaign on facts. Again, as a charter, we have an agreement. Our agreement does allow us to differ, but we must differ based on facts. So basically, I can't stand up and lie about other parties within our charter, but I can state facts. But I can't just lie about them. They can't also lie about us as well.
And yourselves, I mean, as a party that I suppose is not necessarily in government, but in government Action SA through your coalition arrangements that you would have in various municipalities, do you see that as a disadvantage, I suppose, for your political party?
Look, I don't think so. End of the day, when we enter into any coalition, we enter it for the benefit of our people. So I think for us is to engage with electorate about what we can do to fix our country, how we can grow the economy to bring about jobs in our country, how do we fix infrastructure, how do we ensure that we provide a good education, healthcare system. So that's really our mandate at the moment, to sell our manifesto, to sell our policies to voters. But what happened to governments is something else. But I think the charter itself gives a hope, because at least we were able to iron out some of the differences before even we go to an election. We have a charter now. We are clear on what we agree on, what disagree on. We were able to pack aside what we fundamentally disagree on, but we were able to put together what we all agree on. So I think it's a way now to build better government, where there is less conflict in that government, also where there is more of agreements in a way.
I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. That is Action SA's premier candidate in KwaZulu-Natal, Zwakele Mncwango. We'll get a response from the municipality after the break. Stay with us.